In just a few months, Nintendo has already sold over 6 million Switch 2 consoles, and they're working to avoid shortages, meaning they feel like they are on top of the industry and that they can do no wrong. So they are making some extremely dumb moves right now that gamers are unhappy with, and that is because they are raising the prices of the original Switch, warning prices could go up for the Switch 2 games and the Nintendo Switch Online membership. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, I, like many other people, love a lot of Nintendo games and consoles, and the company in general has made some amazing content in the past, and the Switch 2 is fine. I personally think that the launch lineup was extremely weak. They really were relying on older games being either replayed or purchased for the first time, though they had previously said, if you think that the Switch 2 is too expensive, just keep playing your Switch 1 or buy a Switch 1, though now that plan isn't really going to work out well because they are raising prices and they're warning that they could continue to go up. So we had just found this out. Nintendo announces US price rises for original Switch, warns price rises for Switch 2 games, and the NSO membership may be necessary in the future. Now, there are a lot of gamers out there who are willing to support a price hike in some cases. If you truly love a company, yeah, I get it. You might say this isn't that big of a deal. A lot of products across the world right now, especially technology, are going up, are being scalped, are very expensive, though I still think that this is unacceptable. The reason for releasing a new console is so you can get new content into the world, right? You can put newer games that are more technologically advanced than the ones that were on the Switch 1. I get that the price for a new console and potentially new games are going to be high. Not that Nintendo games ever really go on deep discount, but usually the old consoles go down in price, and then there are people who decide, okay, I'm going to purchase this older console because I can't afford $800 for a micro SD card, a Switch Pro controller, the Switch 2 itself, video games being $70 to $80, and you probably want to buy like 2 or 3 games when you're buying a new console so that you can get the full experience. Like, we're talking a very expensive setup in some cases, depending, of course, on what you get. Though, they feel like they can do no wrong. And so they're saying, you know what? We're going to raise the prices instead of lower them. So Nintendo has announced a range of price rises for various OG Switch products in the US and warned price rises for the Switch 2 video games and the Nintendo Switch Online membership may be coming down the line. The price rises, which are based on market conditions, Nintendo said, come into effect on August 3rd. Now, of course, they did not give any more information besides based on market conditions, if that is really the tariffs or not. Who knows? Though it could also just be Nintendo using this as an excuse to raise prices. Back when they said some games are going to start being $80, and then, of course, many companies followed in their footsteps, we knew that they were basically just using the tariffs as an excuse to raise prices on content because the industry feels like they have been wronged. Like, why can we not charge $100 or $120 for a standard edition of a game? They have been, of course, furious over the fact that gamers usually reject price hikes, and when they announced games were going to start being $80 and then we saw some other companies decide, oh, hey, we're going to try the same thing, there has been massive backlash in every single instance. I mean, look at what happened to the Outer Worlds too. Microsoft literally went back and said, you know what, we're not going to charge $80 for this. We're going to charge $70 because I'm sure the pre-orders for that game were low. And in the case of Nintendo, right, you can only get Nintendo games on the Nintendo platforms. So they feel like they have kind of a stronghold on their IPs, right? You can't get Mario in other places. You can't get Zelda in other places. And I get that there are a lot of people out there who love Nintendo, but these prices are insane. So we know the Switch is going from $299 to $339. The Switch OLED, $349 to $399. The Nintendo Switch Lite, $199 to $229. The Nintendo Sound Clock Alarmo, $99 to $110, and then the Joy-Con 2 controllers are $100 up from $94.99. So we are talking about, in some cases, right, $50 worth of a price raise. Usually when a new console comes out, the older ones go down in price. And keep in mind, Nintendo was the one just a few months ago saying if you can't afford a Switch 2, just pick up a Switch 1 or keep using it. In an interview with Canada's CBC, the Nintendo of America president Doug Bowser said the company recognizes that there are some people that may not be able to afford the Switch 2's price point. That's why we wanted to make the other Switch platforms available so people still have an opportunity to come into our gaming universe, be a part of these characters in these worlds, and see value, if you will, in whatever rung of the platform they come in. It sounds like Bowser is trying to be sympathetic to those who can't swing a $450 console or $80 games, but there's one problem: a growing crop of Switch 2 games such as World and Bonanza won't be offered on the Switch 1. So they've said in the past, hey, just use a Switch 1. Just buy a Switch 1. It's cheaper, and you still get access to a wide range of games, but now they're even pricing people out of those consoles, which is just crazy. And of course, they are facing some major backlash on social media for this, and rightly so. I love Nintendo. I did get a Switch 2 because I'm a content creator and I want to be able to review games on this channel and highlight it. And so far, I would say do not buy a Switch 2. Sure, Mario Kart World is fun, Bonanza's fun. The launch lineup was extremely weak. There's no point to go out and pay, $450 and then buy $80 games, and that's not even considering other accessories you might end up needing. You're spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars for right now what is a really lackluster experience. The Switch OLED is significantly better in my opinion, and you still are getting a wide range of games. And if you've never, purchased a Switch 1, regardless of the model, just Switch 1 in general, and you are thinking about buying a Switch 2, sure, you can play games like Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild and Echoes of Wisdom and all these games that had previously launched on the first Switch, though it's just not worth it to buy a Switch 2 if you've already played most of those games. But yeah, they are facing a heck of a lot of backlash right now. I myself have put up a post saying, buy a Switch 1 if you can't afford this 2, raises prices on 8-year-old hardware. We are moving backwards. Thanks for the reminder. They said that makes the price increase look even worse. Absolutely right. 100% back in my day, console prices for old hardware went down, not up. 1000%. Nah, they're moving backwards. The rest of us are using our PC hardware to full potential and using our cell phones as the most powerful portables ever. Nintendo wants to get left in the dust. That's on them. The thing with Nintendo, again, is the fact that they have all of these characters and stories and worlds that you can't find anywhere else. That's why they, in my opinion, have become so big at this point. You could have finally had me getting a Switch, Nintendo, but no. 100%. I understand that this isn't great news, but I also understand that if people haven't purchased a Switch 1 in 8 years, they were never going to buy it in the first place. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think that Nintendo doesn't really lower the prices of their games, and so people say to themselves, well, if I'm going to spend extra money, I'm going to spend it on the console itself, and I'm going to wait to get the best discount that I can possible. I personally haven't seen the Switches drastically decrease in prices from certain retailers because they have deals going on or anything. Nintendo is making some very questionable decisions right now. Headed on over to X, just searching up the Switch. Can't afford the Switch 2, stick to the Switch 1. Remember when we basically got that response from Nintendo? Yeah, sure, totally. Why the F would you increase the price of the machine then? Hello, old generation should go down, not up when the new one comes out. Here are some others. Guide to the Nintendo products price increase. It's people just saying, yeah, this is terrible. Yeah, Nintendo is greedy by doing the price increase on old hardware. Everyone expecting a price cut on the Switch 1 reaches the 160 million units sold, and Nintendo is announcing a price increase. Wild times we are living in. Xbox thinks they are Nintendo now, raises all prices, which we know that they actually had raised the prices just a couple of months ago on, the consoles and on controllers and accessories, though they have backtracked on that $80 plan, at least right now. So yeah, it's not looking particularly good for Nintendo. They're facing major backlash, and I can't say I'm really shocked given their response just a couple of months ago to people's criticisms of the Switch 2 price. So I'll be keeping my eye on this. I don't think that they're going to backtrack. It will be interesting to see, though, when or if they decide to raise the prices of games even further, and the Switch 2, and even the NSO membership, which at this point is a really good deal, but if it goes up significantly, that would probably be a tipping point for a lot of people to say enough is enough. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this and found it important and informative, make sure to give it a like, and if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I'll talk to you all again in the next video really soon.